joining Time Out with PSOA, where sports officials share their stories to help recruit, train, educate not only sports officials, but players, coaches, administrators, and fans. Through this information, we're going to help make us all better for the game. Thank you for taking time out today with PSOA. Today's guest, we have Monte Tilgner, and he's going to be talking about how to use film and video as a sports official. The most humbling part of sports officiating is watching yourself on film. Bad news, film does not lie. However, the great news, film does not lie. So I'd like to bring in our guest today, Monte Tilgner, current NCAA Division I football official who works in the Big Ten. He's a on-field official for the Champions Indoor Football League, and he's a huge contributor towards education for the Great Plains Athletic Conference. He goes out and observes officials work live. He breaks down game film for officials, and each week he creates a training video for our conference. So, Monte, welcome. And during our conference staff meeting last year, you had a great story of perseverance while moving up the ranks in college football. Do you mind sharing with the people listening to this podcast how you started your journey as a football official and the impact film had along the journey to get you where you are today?
Sure, Sean. Thanks for having me as well. So my story is probably not a lot different than a lot of others. It takes a little longer than what we would hope, but so I moved to Orange City from Wayne, Nebraska, and when I did so, I was a teacher and was asked if I wanted to be a football official since I wasn't doing any coaching during the fall. And so I prepared really well, thought I knew what I should be doing, where I should be standing, what I should be looking at. And then that first scrimmage happened, and first time they snapped the ball, all of a sudden there's 22 guys running around, and I was like totally lost and thinking, I cannot do this. But each play got a little better. And, by the time halftime rolled around, it was like, I feel somewhat comfortable with this. And then it just, kept getting better from there. But started doing varsity high school not long after that. And then in 2001, decided that I wanted to start my own crew, wanted to be a white hat for high school varsity football. So I called up some guys that I used to play a lot of ball with from the Sioux Center area, and some guys I knew would want to work hard, want to do well, want to take it seriously, and formed a crew. And we were a really young crew. We started in 2001. And we actually had a semifinal in the Unidome for the state of Iowa in 2005. So we were by far the youngest crew down there. Our range was from 30 to 35 years of age. And, I think one reason why we were able to get pretty good pretty quickly was due to video. So the first year, I paid a student as a teacher. Like I said, I paid one of our high school students $20 to video our crew from the press box. And I had very specific things set up that I wanted from him. He had 5 plays where he kind of focused on each official and he would zoom in. So 5 plays where he'd zoom in on the umpire, probably have the offensive line in there and the umpire. And then 5 plays with the H and the L and the B and the R. And also anytime there was a penalty, he would zoom in on me as the referee in my announcement. And the rest of the game, what I had him do is film it from an all 27. So we talk about, all 30 and so on, but all 27 means for high school, you have all 22 players in the video and you have all 5 officials. So it's a very wide view. So you can see all the mechanics of everything that's going on. And we did that a few times. I also had Pete Hansen observe our crew, and he gave me like a 5-page critique that I went over with him that following Sunday. And we took our film study, we took all the notes from Pete, and we just really looked at it at what we could do to get better. And I think we improved a lot during that year and in those, those future years to, be able to move up pretty well in high school and become known as a pretty good crew in the area. So that's how film kind of helped early in my career. 2002, I started with the GPAC as a supplemental official and just working JV games. I would help out varsity crews. I'd always find out who the varsity crew was, in Orange City, and I would ask, Justin and Pete, can you put me in contact with the white hat? And I would go and I would chart their penalties, going for their pregame and halftime and postgame and that, and just to see more what it's about, get to know all the guys, and then I started working some of the varsity games as well. Not long after that, in the GPAC, and um, I decided, yeah, I really like this. So I decided to go to a clinic. I went to a clinic up in Minneapolis, and I was with this clinic. One thing you do is you work a scrimmage afterwards. So on Saturday, this clinic was on Friday, and on Saturday I worked a scrimmage at Minnesota State University, and Mike Cannon was my observer. And at that time, Mike was a field judge in the Big Ten. Mike actually just retired at the end of this year. He was a referee in the Big Ten the last several years. He's worked 2 national championship games. So great official, great guy. And Mike observed me, and got the report back, and I was looking at it, and yeah, everything looked pretty good. And I was like, okay, great, that's great. And then all of a sudden I get home, and I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. Mike calls me up, and he's like, hey, would you be interested in coming up to Minnesota and working a Gopher scrimmage with me this next weekend? I'm like, yeah, definitely. So go up, and I didn't even know it, but they were kind of, Mike saw something that he thought might be good, and they started watching me, and that scrimmage went well. Then all of a sudden, Mike's like, "Hey, we'd like to send you to South Dakota State for a spring game." So I did that. That went well, and it just kind of took off from there. I just in the right place, the right time, and pretty soon I got a call from Bill Carollo, who's the supervisor of officials for the COC, which is the Missouri Valley MAC and Big Ten, to work a couple Division One games in the in the Missouri Valley with USD, and that was ironically the first year that I got in the GPAC on a regular crew. Before that, I was just a supplemental guy, working 3 to 5 games a year. So yeah, it just went really well since then. I've been very fortunate, and have moved up through was in the Big Sky for 2 years, Missouri Valley for 1 year, and then 6 years in the MAC before moving up to the Big Ten. So film's been a huge thing for me. I watch I watch a ton of film. Guys that know me know I watch a lot of film to try to improve.
Awesome. Appreciate that. The storytelling of the journeys. I wrote down a couple notes here, and a lot of things come back to myself when it comes to, again, we try to connect sports officiating to life. And Monty just shared a great story of he wasn't even hired as a college football official when he is doing all this video training, asking people for help, come watch him work. And it's sort of those things of failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And Monty just gave a story. He did everything he possibly could do to prepare. So when he was given that opportunity, and that opportunity, you didn't even know you were going to get it at that clinic in Minnesota, but you were prepared. So we're going to transition sort of that story into our 3 main topics today. And the first topic is how to use film to develop yourself as a sports official. So, Monty, now knowing what you know now, if there's a sports official listening to this or a potential sports official, and we want to encourage them, prepare yourself by doing film study. How is it you would explain to that sports official to use film to develop themselves?
Well, one thing I tell people, I present at a lot of clinics, and I say mechanics is mechanics and rules knowledge are two things that can separate you from others. Mechanics is absolutely huge. We feel that, yeah, guys are going to be able to make the right decision, but are they in the right position? Because if you're not in the right position, it's harder to make the right observation and make the right decision. So mechanics, I can see mechanics watching film. I can see mechanics from the stand watching somebody, and so can all those other people who are observing you, even if you don't know that they're there. So, is your positioning in the right place? Are you at the right depth that you're supposed to be as an umpire or as a deep wing? Um, one big thing is don't move until you need to, and then when you move with a purpose. So do you move too soon? And those are things that you don't really notice until you watch film. I have a recorder that I have in my pocket, and during a game, I bet between 8 and 25 things on that recorder. And it'll be like, first quarter, 13-12. Was that enough for a defensive hold? It's one that I didn't put a flag down, but I want to make sure I look at that specific one again. And a lot of what I put in my recorder is mechanics. Was my mechanics, was I deep enough where I had a good angle on that? Stuff like that. So mechanics is what's gonna can separate you, and mechanics is something that people are going to be able to see. They're going to be able to see it when they watch on TV. When I watch games, as a lot of you guys as officials do, when you watch a game now, you don't watch them running the ball so much. You're watching the officials. Is that what does that short wing do? Does he step in the backfield on that swing pass that comes right at him? How do they move? How do they square things off? Trying to learn from them to get better, and also trying to see things that you might want to do differently.
Excellent. I'm going to throw in a little bit more information here. And, I'm a supervisor for football, basketball, and baseball as well. And officials, another thing I would strongly recommend when you get yourself on film, there's 3 categories that you have complete control over. Number 1 is appearance. Judge yourself. How do you look in your uniform? And if there's something that you can improve on, use that film to self-evaluate that. The second one is the nonverbal communication. Monty talked about earlier the all 22 or all 27, getting all players, all officials. What is your body language after a play? What is your body language when you're away from the play? If a coach is coming down and having a polite conversation with you, what is the body language with that coach? And then from a mechanic standpoint, especially when there's a new mechanic, I'm going to give a shout out to Aaron Duker in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. One of the things that he always grades high on is mechanics and doing the mechanics that's in the CCA manual. And I know for sure he'll read the manual and then he'll watch the film, and he's making sure he does those correct mechanics because, like Monty said, if you are in the right position and follow that mechanics manual, you're more than likely going to get that judgment call right because you're looking and you're at the spot where you can see the play. Second topic here is now that we've developed ourselves, we're getting comfortable with film, how to watch it, how to break it down. How can you use film to help others, whether it's a whole crew, a mentor, because this could be a dicey situation. So how do you use film to now help your crew and others?
Well, we look at film. We look at how we move together as a crew, especially looking at like an all 30. For us, crossfield spots. I mean, a supervisor can see if there's a pass to the sideline in front of the H and that player gets driven back. They'll look and see, is that headline judge looking crossfield for help on a crossfield spot from the line judge. Those are things that they'll look at. Those are things we want to make sure we're doing. Crew communication on substitutions, on formations and stuff like that. are we, we can see on film if we're doing those things that we need to. So our signals, are they clean? Are they crisp? Uh, I'm really picky. When I had my high school crew, I wanted my two guys underneath the post to go up the same time and signal good. If the field goal or the try was good, your touchdown signal, take a look at it. And there's a lot of different ones out there, and there's guys in the NFL who have who look different in their signals and so on. But for me, I'm pretty picky. I don't want a touchdown signal isn't supposed to be with your hands straight forward like you're getting held up at gunpoint. How does that signal look? Does it look like it shows you in the CCA manual? Little things like that I think make a big difference. But just you can see in supervisors and you can see looking at your hat where you're looking. So did a short wing possibly miss a defensive hold because he was still looking in the backfield? And you can see he's looking at the backfield because the tip of his hat is pointing in at the line of scrimmage instead of to that receiver that was his responsibility, who might be 7 yards downfield. So those are things that we'll use as a crew, to help us. Um, I love being criticized by my supervisors and by our position coaches, because I take that as how I can make myself better. And, as a crew, we want to be better. So we need to be critical of our performance. We always share plays. Everyone has to come up with a couple plays um, to look at, from the last game, and, you know, be critical of each other of, did we see this, or, why did we miss this? Who could have helped on this? Those are type of things that we do, as a crew to help each other with our film.
Excellent. Yeah, I know I wrote down two notes here. For every clip that you're going to give somebody to improve on, make sure you give the good too. The good trick is give somebody two positive reinforcements and then one improvement reinforcement. And then when you're going through plays and clips as a crew, put yourself out there as an example first of, I could have had this mechanic look better. I could have had this signal look better. And the more you create that safe environment, we're doing this for each other to give each other more productive feedback to be better, ultimately. So have an open mind when people are breaking down film, because they're doing it to help you.
Yeah, and as a crew, you can look at, are you, as a crew, are you hustling? Are you doing those signals? There's some nonverbal signals that we do, when we get under 2 minutes. Are we giving our thumbs up on defense for having 11 on defense? What are we doing if we have 12? Are we hustling? As every position, as a referee, are you following the quarterback when he gets outside the pocket? Is the umpire spinning on passes to help out? Line judge and headline judge, are you stepping in the backfield on that quick pass? Are you squaring off your spots? Or are you making that banana cut? Those are all things that are noticed. Can be noticed by supervisors, but they can also be noticed by you as a crew. Are the deep wings, are they cording in at the end of the plays? Are they not bailing out on runs? Those are all things that as a crew we look at, and individually as well. And film is the only way you can see those things.
Excellent. The last topic here we're going to talk about is, where do you think film is going, not only in college football, but in all sports officiating industry? When it comes to video replay, when it comes to the use of it in social media, when it comes to data collection, what have you experienced? What have you heard? And what are some of your opinions of how is film going to be used going in the future?
Yeah, I think it's just gonna get more and more. Video replay I think is great. It was brought in initially just to help with preventing any really big mistakes. And they keep tweaking it a little bit here and there and trying to make it better and really trying to make it where we get things right. There's still going to be some judgment involved, and that's good. But I think replay is a great thing, and understanding how replay works is something that I don't think most of the fans, they have an idea, but they really don't understand how it works and how we use it. But I think it's a great thing, just to help us, because these guys are, these athletes are incredibly big and fast, and everything is so fast that, what when 6 inches can make a difference in, possibly the outcome of a game, it's something that can just help us. So social media wise, I think it's important to understand that someone someone is filming the contest you're working. I don't care if it's a third grade youth basketball or youth football, flag football. Some mom or dad or grandpa or grandma, somebody is in the stands or on the sidelines and they're filming this game. And you're going to be part of that film. And you need to understand that, so you're always act as a professional, and so you always work hard, because you don't want to be, all of a sudden, it shouldn't happen, but you don't want to be that guy on social media that ends up on YouTube or on Facebook as being, look at how lazy this official is. Not that we might not get beat on a play, that happens, but are you still hustling? So social media, it's a lot of good, and it can make things very difficult, but you just got to understand that it's out there, that you're going to be on film, and remember that you always are going to be on film, and you can't take that back. So just think before you speak, think before you do things, and just be careful with that. On the data collection part, it's used immensely. It's used for grading officials. It's used for grading crews. When you get to the Division I level, the coaches, they've got statistics on each crew, so they know, when Cannon's crew comes in, to Michigan, they know that, okay, well, they're in the top third of the Big Ten for holding calls, for example. Not saying that's the case, but they know those kind of statistics because they have people that are collecting all that data, and they might make adjustments accordingly. So we can also use that for our data collection. I know, crews will use the time in between, from when a penalty happens to when the announcement is made to when the ball's blown in and ready for play. And they time those things out to make sure they're being efficient. On a regular false start, definitely should, be more efficient and happen much quicker than if you have, a scenario where you have 2 or 3 different fouls on the play. So all those things are used, by coaches. They're used by the media, but they also, that data collection, it should be used by us as officials to help make us better as well, as individuals and as a crew.
Yeah, I just got back from NCAA baseball meetings, and one of the big initiatives is coaches have had this data collection now since 2013. And then umpires and supervisors are now trying to have those coaches offer us that data so we can see the trends that they see when we are working behind the plate. Sean Johnston has a huge 1-2 strike zone inside but not outside. They have that data on myself, and we're starting to get that data from coaches so we could actually be better sports officials for the game. So we're in our fourth quarter blitz here. I'm going to ask Monty 3 questions for the closing statements, and hopefully you guys could use this information to make yourself better and others better around you. So question number 1, as an official who doesn't have access to Huddle, DVR Sport, RefQuest, how do you get game film?
Well, one thing, like I said, is have a friend or a fellow official, you know, film your crew. And the best thing about that is you can get different angles that you're not going to get in any of those others, situations anyway. You can have it where they focus in on each official for a handful of plays. You can have it where you get that all 27 shot, all 30 shot, where you can see everybody, all the players and all the officials, and see how they move as a crew. And that's something, all you got to do is say, hey, here's $20, or hey, I'll take you out for dinner or beer afterwards. And they're willing to help out, especially younger guys who are wanting to get in. They're kind of on the outskirts. They're on a supplemental staff. Maybe they're a high school guy who might be interested in college. Those guys, they love to go and do stuff like that and help out and just be part of the crew for the day. Um, if it's high school, a lot of times you might be able to ask the athletic director, to get a copy of the film, from the coach. Most states now, are using Huddle, and you can get access to most of the games just by contacting, someone at the state office, with a specific date in the game, and you can usually get that Huddle access. But there's also all kinds of stuff out there on the internet, different states that do, have really good training videos out there. Jason Nickleby is in the Big Ten, a center judge in the Big Ten, a friend of mine, and he heads up the football for the state of Minnesota. He puts out weekly training tapes that are very, very good. Matt Sunstein, I believe, is out of Hawaii, has tremendous training tapes. Tom Allen, I believe it is, I think out of Ohio, is another one that's got great training tapes out there that, they're out there on YouTube. All you got to do is Google them, and you can find them. And that's not necessarily of you, but it's things that you're going to be able to use, to help yourself as well.
And then the last question here, the audience listening to this podcast, what are 3 things you could give them to encourage them to watch game film?
Yeah, well, film, it's going to make you better. It's going to make your crew better. And you got to remember, if you're not getting better, there's someone else who's going to pass you up. We got to learn from others' mistakes. At a clinic, when I was in the Big Sky, we had a referee from the NFL come in, and I've remembered this quote since he said it. If you don't learn from the mistakes of others, you're going to make too many, and you're not going to be working Division I very long. So look, we can learn from ourselves, we can learn from others, and film is just another one of those tools that we can have that can help us to improve.
Well, Monty, thank you for taking time out today with PSOA. Those officials looking to contact you because they like the information that you gave them, is there a way they could contact you directly to get more tips and tricks on how to use film?
Yeah, not a problem. So my email is mtilgner, that's MTILGNER 1986 at gmail.com. So mtilgner 1986 at gmail.com. And you could also get a hold of Sean. Obviously, he's got my email. If you lose that one, but I'd love to give back and to help out. I've had so many people help me along the way, and so many people who still do. So that's one thing I do like to do is help out others as much as possible. So feel free to contact me.
All right. You could also probably see Monty at multiple clinics in the Midwest that's going to be offered. PSOA hopes to have you in Omaha June 2nd and 3rd once again this year.
Yeah.
Those of you listening to this podcast, if you're enjoying these stories, if you're enjoying the information, make sure you visit us weekly for the new podcast. You could also help by sharing this podcast, rating the podcast, and then becoming a contributing supporter for the podcast. So to keep this Time Out with PSOA going, do your part, rate the show, share the podcast, and contact me if you'd like to be a contributor and supporter. Once again, follow us on YouTube, find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you are looking for more information on how to become a sports official, visit www.premiersportsofficials.com. Until our next time out, remember, you're only as good as your last call.
A Herd at Sports Network production.